So guys, as we start the transition from summer into fall, it's the perfect time to start thinking about a fall garden. But if you're gardening for just one person, how much should you actually plant? How do you grow enough of the foods you love without ending up with more than you can eat and without feeling overwhelmed? That's what we're going to explore in today's video as I start planning my fall garden for one. And if you're gardening for two or more, don't worry. I'll also show you guys how you can easily scale your garden based on what your household actually eats. Because the goal isn't to grow as much as you can, it's to grow enough of what you actually use. Welcome to DIYs by Carolina. I'm Carolina, and if you're new here, I share simple DIY projects, gardening, home decor, and ways to make your home and outdoor space feel beautiful, practical, and enjoyable without making things complicated. Now, I know we still have about a month of summer left before fall officially arrives, so you might be wondering why I'm already talking about fall gardening. Well, I want to start planning now because fall gardening is all about timing. I need to know what I want to grow, when I need to plant it, and when I need to start my seeds so everything is ready when the temperature begins to cool down. And if you're new to fall gardening, I want to make this process simple and easy for you too. So in today's video, I'll show you the supplies I'm using, how to find your first frost date, how I decide what to grow, what to look for when choosing seeds, and some companion plants I'm adding to the garden. And since it's still a little too hot here to plant some of my fall vegetables, we're going to focus on getting everything ready now, so when the temperatures do cool down, we'll be ready to plant. Whether you're growing for one person or a whole family, my goal is to show you how to create a garden that fits your household without the waste and without the overwhelm. All right, y'all, so before we get started with talking about the supplies or talking about what it is we want to plant in our garden, I want to talk about what I think is the most important part of planting a garden, which is actually considering what it is exactly you love to eat. Because whatever that is, that's what we want to plant. So, for example, what vegetables do you love to eat? For me, I love to eat salads. I typically try to eat at least 2 salads weekly. Think about, what do you normally buy at the grocery store? And for me, I normally buy lettuce, I buy cucumbers, tomatoes, anything that I think is going to make my salad interesting. Sometimes I like to switch it up a little bit. The third question I would ask myself when considering a fall garden is, what do you love to cook with? That could be any type of herbs. I love using oregano. I love to use lemon balm in my teas. I also love to use thyme. Definitely different herbs to cook with. And my last 2 questions are, what would you be most excited to walk outside and harvest? Also, how much of that food can you realistically use? So just take your time and think about those questions whenever you're getting ready to plan your fall garden this season. So this is the raised garden bed I'm going to be using to plant my fall vegetables in this season. And for me, because I'm growing for one individual, I'm going to be much more intentional, you guys, about how many plants I put in this garden bed. I don't need 10 of something if I'm only going to use 1 or 2. But if you're going to be planting this fall for a family, this is where you may decide to scale it up. You may want to plant more vegetables that your family enjoys eating the most, or you may even decide to actually add an additional raised garden bed. And if you're interested in this particular raised garden bed, I'll be sure and have it linked in the description. So I want to show you guys a quick little mock-up that I'm going to be using as a layout for whenever I do start planting my fall garden seeds. And so you can kind of see here that I pretty much went ahead and have it mocked up to where I'm going to place the tallest vegetable seeds in the back for the taller vegetables, and then in the middle I'm going to be adding my carrot seeds, and then of course in the front I'm going to be adding my lemon thyme and then my alyssum seeds. And again, this is just to kind of help me figure out a layout because I'm only planting for one person, just myself, and my little raised garden bed is not that big, as you guys can see. So I just want to make sure that I have enough room to plant the vegetables that I need, that I know I'm actually going to use. All right, guys, so once you've decided what exactly you want to grow, the next step is knowing what to look for on the seed packet. I always recommend turning the seed packet over and reading the information on the back before you buy or plant any seeds. And these are basically the the little seed kit and the seeds that I'm going to be using in my garden this season. Now, you'll typically find important information on the back of each seed packet. It's going to tell you basically when to plant, how deep to plant the seeds, how far apart to space them, how many days they take to mature, and the temperature or growing conditions they need. For a fall garden, I pay especially close attention to the days to maturity and the recommended planting times because I want to make sure that my vegetables have enough time to grow before the temperatures get too cold. And remember, not every vegetable has the same growing requirements. So don't assume that if it's time to plant one fall vegetable, it's automatically time to plant everything else. The seed packet is really your little instruction guide, and it's worth taking a few minutes to read it before you plant anything. So now that we know what we want to grow in our fall garden, it's time now to find our first frost date. And to do that, I simply just Google Almanac 2026, and I'm just kind of showing you guys right here just a little screen recording of how that works. Basically, once you Google Almanac 2026, you're just going to click on the link, and then you're going to click gardening, then planting. You're going to put in your city and your state, and it's going to show you the planting calendar for all of your vegetables. It's going to show you the different crops. It's going to show you the start seed date for planting your seeds outdoors. Is also going to show you the best time to actually transplant your seeds from indoors to outdoors, because typically you want to plant them indoors, some of them, and give them chance to kind of germinate first before planting them outside. It's going to give you the average days to maturity and then your frost tolerance date as well. So I absolutely love going here every year, and this is not just for fall. You can do this for the spring as well. And you can see right here at the top, it tells me that my first fall frost occurs on November the 9th. All right, guys, so now that you know how to find your first frost date, you just want to kind of think about, what it is you want to grow. And like I told you guys before, if you're growing for a family, in terms of your fall garden, just make sure you're choosing vegetable seeds or vegetables that you guys actually eat. Okay, you don't need to plant a whole lot of stuff, only plant what you need. So one of the things I love to plant are the carrots. You guys saw that in an earlier clip. I love eating carrots in my salads, and then I also love giving carrots to my dogs as a treat. They love it. These are going to be plants that are going to be serving double duty. I love eating salads. I typically eat salads at least 3, sometimes 4 times a week, which is why I'm planting the lettuce and the kale and the carrots. And not only do I love salads, but I also love to do smoothies in the morning for breakfast. And so I'm able to use all of those items for smoothies, aside from the carrots. But the lettuce and the kale, I definitely use in my smoothies. And I also juice. If you guys have been following me for a minute, you know that I love juicing. And I definitely use carrots in pretty much 80% of all of my juices. So that's another thing you want to think about whenever you're thinking about the vegetables and things you're going to be adding to your fall garden. Kind of think about different ways that you can use that vegetable, so then that way it just kind of makes sense that, this is definitely something that I want to plant, because we use this repeatedly in my household. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So in addition to my vegetable seeds, I'm also going to be adding some companion plants. And these companion plants serve one purpose, y'all. Well, actually, 2 purposes. The first is that they're beautiful, they're gorgeous, they smell amazing. But the main purpose is they're going to help protect a lot of my vegetable seeds or vegetable plants from pests. And that's definitely one of the things you want to think about whenever you're choosing items for your fall garden. So one of the seeds that I'm going to be adding to my raised garden bed to help protect my vegetables against different pests, like any type of worms or anything like that from eating the vegetables, is going to be alyssum. All right, so alyssum seeds, I have these here. And they're beautiful. Look how pretty those colors are. Sweet alyssum plants protect vegetables by attracting beneficial predatory insects like hoverflies, parasitic wasps, and ladybugs that feed on common garden pests. It functions as a natural defender and trap crops rather than a direct repellent. The next companion plant that I'm going to be using in my raised garden bed is going to be some lemon thyme. And lemon thyme protects vegetable gardens by using its strong citrusy essential oils to mask the scent of host plants, confusing and repelling destructive pests. Rather than just defending a single crop, it acts as an excellent living border or spiller plant when positioning along the edges of your raised garden bed. All right, y'all, so here's a quick look at the soil I'm going to be using in my raised garden bed. So this is by Miracle-Gro. I have 2 bags because I want to make sure that I have enough soil to fill up this entire bed. So this is what I'm going to be using here. I actually got these from Lowe's, and I will have these linked in the description as well. And to kind of keep moisture inside whenever I do plant my seedlings and my seed, I'm going to be using some seeding straw. This is going to be perfect for adding in that raised garden bed to help retain moisture to the raised garden bed and just kind of help speed up the germination of my seeds. So again, these are items I will have linked in the description. So now that I know what I want to grow, I'm going to go ahead and get a head start on some of my fall vegetables by starting these seeds indoors. I'm using this little seed starting greenhouse kit for my kale, lettuce, and some of my other fall vegetables. And if you're in one of the warmer growing zones like I am, this is especially important because your planting dates may be earlier than you think. For example, when I checked the Old Farmer's Almanac for my area, it showed that kale and lettuce can be started as early as August for a fall garden. So even though it's still hot outside, I need to get these seeds started now so they'll have time to grow before I transplant them outdoors. I'm going to keep these seedlings indoors while they're getting established. Then once the temperature cools down and the outdoor conditions are right, I'll transplant them into my raised garden bed. So if you're in a warmer growing zone and you're planting a fall garden, definitely check your planting dates. Don't assume you need to wait until fall arrives on the calendar. Check the almanac for your area, look at the first frost date, and make sure you give your plants enough time to mature before that first frost. Now, if you don't use all of your seeds, like me, of course, I didn't use them all, don't throw the packet away. You can save those seeds and use them for another planting season. For my leftover seed packets, I'm using a mason jar to keep them together and protected. I'm going to store them in the jar in my pantry where it's cool and dry. If you have the space, you can also store them in your refrigerator. I'm also adding a little moisture absorber inside the jar. You can use one of those little packets that come in shoe boxes or the small moisture absorbing insert you may find in some pill bottles. Just make sure it isn't touching or contaminating the seeds. And this is another easy way to avoid waste. You don't have to use an entire seed packet just because you opened it. Save what you don't need and use it when the timing is right. All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in and watching. We are at the end of today's video. I am excited because we have started the whole process with some of the do's and don'ts and things that we need to consider before starting our fall garden, especially if you're going to be gardening for one individual like myself, or if you're going to be gardening for a family. So just to kind of give you guys some things to think about, maybe supplies and things that you want to go ahead and maybe start thinking about purchasing, and vegetables you may want to plant in your garden. So all of that good stuff we will be actually exploring even further as the temperature starts to cool down, as we start to transition from summer over into fall. So guys, I'm excited. Let me know in the comments how you guys feel so far about everything. And if you're planning on actually doing a fall garden, I'm definitely planning to do it because I've always wanted to grow my own food. I think this is the absolute perfect opportunity to do that. It won't be so hot outside. It won't be such a hassle to get outdoors and actually take care of those vegetables because it'll be a little bit cooler. So that part I'm so super excited about. But anyway, let me know in the comments what you guys thought of the video, and if you found this information helpful and useful to you all. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Until then, bye.